So let's take a look at this concept in the automotive industry. Let's take a look at what appeared to be a trend of moving towards EVs. I don't know if that's a hard trend or a soft trend, but a lot of automotive companies went to retool their manufacturing to be able to facilitate the creation of EVs. Now there are some different shifts happening in the world, and now they're relooking at that. Is that a hard trend? Is it a soft trend? What are your thoughts on what they do?
Well, one of the things that has helped me to be really accurate with my predictions over the decades is what I call the both and concept. So when we have the old and then we see the new, we think it's either this or that. But in reality, it's this and that. So instead of saying we're getting rid of all gas and petroleum and it's all going to be electric, it's no, there's also hydrogen, by the way. There is electric. In other words, where are we going to ideally put different fueled vehicles, different fueled engines? And instead of having one size fits all, it's all electric. There will be a multitude of that, number one. Number two, we're early in the EV, let's call it evolution right now. For example, starting in about 2026, the next evolution of battery technology is allowing you to go 800, 900 miles and recharge in a short amount of time. Well, that will change the game once again. So electric vehicles are part of our future, absolutely. By the way, hydrogen is part of our future. And by the way, petroleum is part of our future. It's a both and world.
Would you call that a hard trend or a soft trend?
Oh, they're definitely hard trends. We're not going to say we're not having EVs anymore. That's a hard trend that will grow, definitely, especially with the new technologies that are coming out. There's even a couple of roads that are experimental in Europe, in Denmark actually specifically, where you're charging the car just by driving on the road. So you don't even have to plug it in. So there are some amazing, thanks to engineers, technologies that are letting us turn the impossible into the possible. As a matter of fact, let me just make a comment about that. I'm excited about the future. And by the way, thanks to engineers, I'm excited about the future. We don't even need new technology to solve just about every problem there is on the planet. The key is having vision, having a polymath, multimodal, multidimensional approach to look at the big picture, and then not just do things quickly, but in order to speed up, slow down. In other words, doing what Quest Global is really trying to do, and that is to really understand the problem, make sure we're working on the right problem, and then realize we don't even need new physics. We have so many great things. By the way, we're going to get some new physics too.
Well, let's talk about that. The concept of engineers have the opportunity to, in fact, solve the world's hardest problems. But our research is showing that engineering is at a bit of a crossroads right now. If you take a look at the statistics, as you've said, hard trend, about 25% of engineers will age out and retire within the next 5 years. 40% of engineers in current roles are probably going to change their jobs and take that institutional knowledge with them. And staggeringly, 50% of engineers asked if they would stay in their profession if they could do it all over again, have actually said no. And we believe, if you take a look at it, it's because we've become such a micro-focused world. You go to school, you learn one thing. You come in and you take an internship, you learn to do one thing. You come out of school thinking you're going to be an engineer, solving the world's greatest problems, and you're put on a very micro piece of the project, and it's frustrated them in many ways. I know we have a perspective on what we need to do, but I'm interested in your thoughts. What's required to actually allow those engineers to become, these great problem solvers again?
Well, there are a number of things you brought up that are really powerful and helpful in understanding hard trends from soft trends. For example, many engineers will be retiring soon. We know that because we know you can't stop them from aging. And you said, and they'll take their institutional knowledge and wisdom with them when they leave. That part is a soft trend. So let me give you an advanced lesson real quickly. If there is in a trend statement a comma or the word and, you probably have two trends. Here's an example. Many of our engineers will be retiring over the next 5 years, and they'll take their knowledge and wisdom with them. Notice the and. So, hard trend. They're going to be retiring over the next several years. Yes, they'll take their knowledge and wisdom with them. That's soft. We could do something about that. We could have formal mentoring programs. You have a database, do you have a knowledge base, do you have a wisdom base? Are we capturing some of that institutional knowledge before they leave? I could do something about that. So when you know what is soft and how you could work with it versus what is hard, and we know this will happen, all of a sudden you can start to see more of a future. Secondly, I think a lot of people are leaving engineering because we have, as you said, hyper-focused it and taken out the parts that attracted engineers in the first place. And I think Quest Global is really doing a great job of redefining that and saying, wait, no, we need to actually have multidisciplinary teams, focused teams, smaller teams that are intimate with the customer, taking a bigger look at the entire problem so that we're actually solving the correct problem and then moving forward.
And what we've realized with all of this is this concept of polymath. You call yourself a polymath because you are so multidisciplined. What we'd like to do is actually bring that multidisciplinary opportunity back to engineers. So think about it as you're working with a client. You have a mechanical engineer, you have a chemical engineer, you have a digital engineer, you have a multifaceted team working with you who are now able to look at solving the problem from multi-lens perspective, right? You're not looking at it just from the way in which you've been taught because you've got one view perhaps as a mechanical engineer. But now with all of these other people on your team, you have different ways to look at it. And we believe that's the better way to come at a problem. I know that when we've talked to clients about that, they have found that concept very exciting and recognize that that's actually very much what they are missing now. They're missing that bigger perspective, the ability to step outside of what they do day in and day out and have other people's perspectives to come at a problem from that way.
You know, it's interesting. I've noticed over the years that whatever problem you've got, that's not it. There's something else. And that's part of the job of the engineer to figure out what it really is, because the client will state the problem, but that's seldom really the problem. It's underneath that. I'm going to give you a quick example. Several years ago, I was meeting with the CEO of a major drug company, and I asked him a loaded question. I said, what's your biggest problem? Now, I said loaded because I already knew whatever he would say that wasn't it. Why did I know that? Because they're smart. They have Nobel laureates working for them. I mean, why couldn't they solve it? Wrong one. He said, well, we need to hire 2,000 researchers, and we don't have the budget for them. That's my biggest problem. Well, I knew that wasn't it. So I started digging down, as an engineer would, to find the real problem. And I said, well, why do you need those 2,000? And he said, well, we're a drug company. We need to solve molecular problems. In order to solve molecular problems, we need to have researchers. And right now, our pipeline is low. We don't have a lot of new drugs on the market. That's why I can't afford the 2,000 researchers. So I'm stuck. And my solution was, why hire them? Why don't we put your molecular problems on the internet in a dozen languages and say, we pay for solutions? By the way, they did that. It was written up in the Harvard Business Review. It worked so well. And other companies are doing that as well. The point I'm making in that very quick example is that engineers have an opportunity antenna up at all times, the good ones. And what they're doing is they're looking and asking the right questions in their relationship with the client to try to dig down and find out what is the real one. And to do that, you need to really get a big holistic view, which I see Quest Global is doing.